manifestation of the Lord herself. I've known Prasad since September of 1989. We met in a conference in Goa which was called The Business of Business is Learning. It was the first conference using the open space methodology in India. It was also in the same conference that I met Hans Stadler. And for the next few days we were all in one group. V.S. Mahesh, Hans Stadler, Prasad Kaipa, Shashi Khanna, who is the mother of Nitya Shanti, who does this self-leadership class. And we enjoyed the conversation so much that in open space, as you know, you could decide to just be in one group rather than going from one group to the other. So we just decided to be together. And some very, very fascinating conversations happened at that time. I was very struck by Prasad's brilliance, his generosity in terms of sharing his knowledge and his taking a different view from what everyone else was talking about. And so I discovered his fascinating life story, that he was a physicist from IIT Chennai, went to do research in university in Salt Lake City in Utah. He was studying the after effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and doing research there. And there he began to use the Apple Macintosh in strange ways which it was not meant to be used for. So when Apple came to know that there is this Telugu speaking Indian with who's an unusual character, who is using the Apple for things it was not designed for, they began to invite him into their conferences to speak on how he was using the Mac. And next thing he knows, he was hired into Apple. And there he worked in the School of Technology. There he worked with Bill Atkinson on inventing the HyperCard. And he told me many stories about Apple those days when he was working there in the early days, and where people used to work non-stop with the amount of passion they had. And next thing they did is that they made him head of marketing in Europe. And he told me the story as to how he created a completely new innovation in marketing in Europe, where they began to sell computers, the Macs, like they sell beer cans, like in a group of so many cans each. So they would sell these Macs in those groups. And so it was a breakthrough idea that, you can do a small and medium business that you take 8 computers at a time rather than one. So it was an interesting innovation, I remember from his story. And then he headed the School of Technology in Apple, then he was made a fellow of Apple. And after that he came to this conference and he went back, and he'll probably tell a story of his life to you. He decided to leave Apple and to create his own institution, an organization called Mithya, all about learning. And I've, in the first few years after that, I and Prasad worked quite a lot together. I used to go to the Silicon Valley, and he and I did some workshops together for Association of Innovative Managers in the Silicon Valley. He and I ran a workshop in Bangalore on innovation and high-performance organizations, which all the founders of Infosys came to attend, I remember. And that time Infosys was a small company. And so they were listening to everything that we had to say with rapt attention over the 3 days, and they were making notes profusely, because Infosys was a much smaller company in the early 90s, which is when they came to attend our workshop. So it was an absolute joy to see. He and I have also done the transformation leadership workshop together, along with another colleague called Dinesh Chandra. And we also at one time got so carried away by our vision for the world that we decided to buy some land together in Pataudi. I and Dinesh and Prasad, and we said we will create something called the Foundation for Human and Economic Development, and a school there. And we still own the land there. But I'm so glad we didn't build anything there, because that has been declared since then as a residential zone. So even if you had constructed something there, probably it would have been demolished by now. So maybe God had other plans. So in any case, I think it's been an absolute joy to be with Prasad. We haven't done that much work together in the last few years, but we meet as brothers and we catch up with what's happening in our lives. And you must have heard that he's come out with this fantastic new book, From Smart to Wise, and which is creating waves. It's on the bestseller list. He's being interviewed all over the world on media and going and speaking. So you're very fortunate, but you're meeting quite a celebrity today at such short notice. So with these words, I just want to introduce Prasad Kaipa, the genius, the scholar of Sanskrit, literature, Upanishads, and most of all a friend of soil. So welcome to soil.
I have to find somebody to live up to that billing, and because I can't do that. So what would be most useful? Maybe I thought I could actually elaborate based on some other questions. Maybe I'll just make 3 things that may be most useful from my perspective, and then I'll take your questions, and each of them I may build a little bit deeper. One is, I want to say, but by the way, through that window, the setting sun, red, beautiful sun, I just was captured by the quality of that, and it's nice to be standing here right there in that. I just wanted to present for a moment. So I felt what you are doing inside is something very, very remarkable from various perspectives. I also teach in ISB. I have started the Center for Leadership, Innovation and Change, California, and Dartmouth. Despite several business schools that I have taught, I felt what Anil and his team has created with you. Here, it's like a fish to water. You may not recognize as much about what you are doing, both as a social experiment, as an educational experiment, and as a business school. But this is something very, very interesting, and I hope you will have experiences and stories to tell 10, 15, 20 years from now on what you got out of it. First, from an outsider perspective, it is very visible, but we can talk about it, and I'm really open for you to challenge me why I say that, and I will be happy to answer that. That's the first point. Second point that I just want to bring in is much of learning is going through major restructuring, and part of something called a DMI, Design Management Institute, which originated out of Boston, has roots in Los Angeles, Barcelona, many parts of the world, where 25 universities, including Harvard, Philadelphia, many of them are coming together, and they are working on a project called Future Ed, Future of Education, where design schools, engineering schools, and business schools are coming together to come up with some kind of a set of programs, curriculums, an MBA if you want to call, so that the management education becomes more relevant to the world, and the value of what you go through in school becomes much more meaningful to not only you but also to the community in which you live. That is considered to be a future ed project for DMI. But I believe much of what we are envisioning there is being done here. So that is the second reason why I believe that there is a relevance, and there is a, if you can really begin to think about how to take this to a next level, you are part of first set of students who can really change the world. I don't mean it lightly. I do mean it as not just analytical education, but education that is grounded both in the self-science as well as the environmental consciousness, sustainability, the social leadership, and the valuing the diversity of the global, complex, interdependent universe that we live in. To learn, there is no better place. And this is an experiment, it's a living laboratory, and that is something that is very special. And the third one, I believe, is taking what we are doing in India. I think there is an incredible importance in the world, because as you might know, Vietnam, Indonesia and India are the three countries that have got more number of people under 25 than anywhere else in the world. The significance of this demographic change is such that as we go older, many of the countries do not have managerial capability that is young and who can take the roles. In some respects, what you are doing through your management education, if you can keep your eyes open and if you can actually keep your game sharp, you can be the managers and leaders of not just Indian companies, but companies around the world, and you can actually influence much broadly than you have been educated. So why is that necessary, and why is that what you are doing is important? Because much of the education, what you are learning, has got the physical element, emotional element, intellectual element, and a spiritual, that means a larger purpose element, which have to be integrated. Otherwise, when you go become a global manager of a Japanese company, or when you become in Abu Dhabi a senior executive, or an entrepreneur somewhere else, or a politician in different parts of India, if you begin to look at it, I think the ability to see several of the values that you have, diversity, sustainability, ethics, and compassion and mindfulness, these are probably some things which will help you no matter what you do, where you go. I can elaborate on just these 5 and how they are relevant for the current managers. I can give you stories, I can give you variety of ways how these are going to be foundations for actually how organizations will really become effective, productive and creative as we go forward. So let me stop there and say this is not just something that is nice for you. I feel that it's a privilege and an honor to come and speak to you, and I'm open to any questions, no restrictions of any kind, and I would be happy to engage with you more in a kind of a deeper conversation. What are we doing here, and how what we are doing can actually have a significant impact on each other and on people and the world that is outside us. So if you can see that possibility, if you can hold that opportunity alive and act out of it and ask any questions, I would be happy to help you to see what I see. Maybe that is something that would be helpful for your journey through soil to be as much meaningful, and when you get out of it, that could also help you go a lot farther. Please.
Since you're associated with DMI,
yeah.
So I wanted to ask this question that for past few years I've been following this concept called vertical farming. So how relevant it is, I mean I know how relevant it is, but is it really possible to have that kind of concept to produce vegetables and fruits on a larger scale to feed? Because now that we have paucity of land and all, I know Singapore has started and Hong Kong is on its way to start one of that project. So if you can throw some light that is it really practical to have vertical farming?
Let me start with a narrow question and then I'll broaden the implications of what we are talking about. Obviously the land is a problem. Water is actually going to be a much bigger problem than the oil has been. And the third is our ability to focus on dedicating land for farming and not converting it for houses, office buildings and something else is having an implication. And the fourth one is not only the farmland but also even the forest land, which is required when we are having this deforestation so that the population is happening. We are affecting our food supply, we are affecting our ecosystem, and we are affecting our entire future because it is not really being meaningful. So in that context, vertical farming And there are different ways of designing how we generate our food is of significant interest to a large number of people. So if I take that, let me give a couple of practical examples. I live in San Jose, west part of San Jose, not too far from our home, what you call just about, let us say, half a kilometer from our home, a land which was there, they converted it into some kind of a community farm. What it essentially means is, you have an opportunity, you pay certain amount of money, and you have an opportunity to take a small plot within that big plot where you can plant the kind of things which you want to eat. Whether I want some Indian eggplant, or whether I want to eat, because I am from Andhra, whether I want gongura, whatever, I can pick. But overall, we are collectively paying some money, spending some energy to create certain kinds of vegetables that are for our consumption. The idea is every week the vegetables will be supplied to all our families, whatever has come in. So we are eating fresh, locally grown, organic, that we had a role to play. What is amazing about this is, anything you eat can affect you in multiple ways. One is obviously the nutritional value. Second, what is interesting about the food you eat, the food when eaten appropriately with love, as a something that you are enjoying it, will nourish you. It will energize you, and there are a variety of things which we can quote from Upanishads or any of that. The idea of how the food that is liked, paid attention to, and you feel it can make a difference to you, can actually even increase your immunity at some level. Whereas the food, when you pay little attention, when you are doing it on a run, grabbing it while you are driving, while you are eating, while you are checking your email, while you are doing everything else what you eat, it can give the gross level nurturing or nourishing, but it doesn't give either a sense of satisfaction that you have eaten something that you enjoy, or it doesn't give you energy of a different kind, emotional element. It may give the physical energy, but there are also different things that come up. So from vertical farming, community farming, the designed way in which you actually are involved in creating something is something that is actually having a major impact. In the Design Management Institute, in addition to that, they are also recognizing design thinking is becoming such a significant one. By the way, if you guys don't have a design and innovation club as a part of SOIL, I would highly recommend you begin to create. Actually, that is one thing which may become very essential. How do you design? What is the design actually? Design is a conscious engagement with whatever activity which you are doing. Consciously you are trying to say, this is my intention. What process would get me to accomplish that? Seeing it holistically and coming up with a set of design principles and steps that adhere to the boundary principle. That means ethics, values, whatever you have. Within that boundary, with the goal that you have, how are you going to accomplish with the resources, with the time which that you have? That is what is the design principle. That can be organizational design, it can be a business design, it can be a product design, it can be a experience design. So that means, if you take, I'm sure there are many people who have got an iPhone in the room. So, like, why do people like iPhone? Or why do people like beautifully designed clothes, or handbags, or cars, or motorcycles, or any of them? They allow for premium value to be charged because it generates, like an iPod was not an MP3 player, iPad is not a tablet, iPhone is not called a smartphone. Because they are not connected with a category, other people may brand it, But they separate it out. You don't ask for, can I get an Apple smartphone? You don't ask that. You ask for an iPhone. You ask for an iPad. You don't ask for, can I get an Apple tablet? Reason for that, the moment you can brand yourself, you can charge a premium. Think about it even in a soil. Think about it in terms of what you are doing. The moment you don't fit into the traditional analytical, management education, then you have two. One is the gift, one is the curse. The gift is you are having a holistic education that will help you not only become a better manager, better leader, but a better human being. And those are elements which are not talked about. But also that comes the cost, as I said. That means sometimes it may not be easy for organizations to differentiate what you bring when compared to some more branded, well-known names. But at the same time, Apple is never going to be the biggest or largest in terms of various kinds of stuff. Anything they create it, but everybody else will copy it quick enough. The market share of other companies will increase a lot more. Only thing is, Apple will come up with something new. Same thing you need to begin to look at. You need to look at it and say, as soil students, what are we creating in the world? What are we designing with our experience in here? How are we going to change the workplace so that we can be entrepreneurs? We can be, wherever we go. That means you need to be able to go and see and show to your managers, other companies, how hiring you will actually becomes a major benefit for them. That means when you do your projects, when you do your internships, when you engage with any company, you need to begin to differentiate yourself. And that differentiation will build your brand and will build soil brand. So in some respects, the curse you may feel at this moment, but it will actually become a gift later, is you have to make soil proud and you have to carry the soil brand. Because of you, over time, soil will become extraordinary. It is not just soil makes you, you make the soil as well. Because what grows out of the soil makes the ground to be fertile, right? Ultimately. So, design, whether it is vertical farming, whether it is product development, whether it is experience, how do you make every time you go into a company, they need to say, can I hire you? When do you complete? I would like you to come back and work with me. And if you are not available, are there people like you in your college whom I can hire? If you can think about you becoming an ambassador of a holistically educated management graduate, I have a feeling, let alone soil bringing you jobs, I have a feeling you will be bringing reputation to soil above and beyond what it can do for you. But that requires leadership. What does leadership essentially amount to? There are 70,000 books and probably about 1 million papers written on leadership. What it means is, everybody is talking about leadership because it is essential, but nobody has come to one definition. So in that respect, if you want to be a leader, what I found is, it comes down to practically 3 things. One is, how do you make difficult decisions? Easy decisions everybody will make. They don't need a graduate degree in management to do that. But difficult decisions, aspirational decisions, decisions for which there is no one right answer, how you make them requires a lot more than just the data or big analytics or big data analytics or intuition or emotion or instinct. It has to have certain amount of wisdom. Okay. Decisions. Second is actions. We can make great decisions, but can we implement them practically and stay with them even if they are not producing results? You need fortitude, you need the willpower, and you need to have the commitment, you need to have a firm conviction to take action when results are not coming through right away. So, second is action. Third is communication. Leaders differentiate themselves by the quality of communication that they present to other people. Right? So, at some level, if you can demonstrate that you can make wiser decisions, take wiser actions, and your communication is more compassionate and mindful in doing what you are doing, I have a feeling it doesn't matter wherever you go, you are going to move up like a rocket. That cannot come through accident. It cannot come by somebody else teaching. You have to become the leader. Leadership is a privilege as well as something, it's a huge responsibility. Nobody can make you a leader. You have to step up and say, I want to be counted. They can make you a manager. But leadership, by the way, do you know what is opposite of leadership in my mind? It is not followership. It is a victimhood. If you are not willing to be a leader, you are becoming a victim. Because you are not willing to take responsibility and accountability for you to stand up and be counted and actually make a difference. If you are not making a difference, then somebody else will put you to a job where you are a victim of their leadership. Okay. And so that means, coming back to this, leaders become by design. It is not the question of are they born or are they developed. Birth and development will help you, but ultimately you have to design yourself to be a leader. You have to choose yourself to be a leader. You have to act yourself as a leader. You have to communicate as a leader. So that is all a designed, thoughtful maturation process. And that, I think, is what I believe soil prepares you very well when compared to the ISP, when compared to any other school that I know of, whether it is in the West or the East. Please.
So I actually have this question on when you spoke about innovation, leadership and values being instilled in MBA graduates and the technical school and the engineering schools coming together and focusing on innovation, leadership and instilling values. While the grassroots level, which are our primary schools, that is where actually these values should be instilled in. And not a lot of focus is being put on that. So why is that happening and what are the major challenges? That because instilling these values at the primary level are much easier than instilling it in 25-year-old. So why is it that this is happening and what are the major challenges in this?
So the question is, why is that some of these essential important elements are not being looked at only at an older age population, but not at younger age, right? The key is, it would be great to do it at elementary school. Before 12, we are actually still formulating values, ethics, and we are, even in a developmental psychology, they say, ethics come between 12 and 13 or maybe 18, up to 18. But till then, we only make, at some level, choices based on our passion, choices based on what is available. But we don't necessarily make the ethical distinction till we reach certain age. So, if you want to educate ethically and if you want to get them to be more entrepreneurial or innovative or to become a leader, below 12 is a great time. So all of what you are saying is extremely valid. Why is it not being done? 2-3 reasons I can think about. One is, I suppose everybody gets into a certain mode of this is the best way to do it. So we put children into a school which is like a college prep school. In India, most of the private schools are college prep schools, whether we like it or not. Whether they are preparing people for IITs or whether they are preparing for IIMs or whether they are preparing for medical schools or... So there is no such thing like really a character education that takes place unless you are in some kind of a place where they look at it that this is very essential. But even there, because it cannot be taught, it can only be learned, we need to create a context for liberal arts We need to create a context for drama, role play, storytelling, music, dance. But you see, in the middle of 3 hours, reading, writing and arithmetic, most of the teachers and the educational systems don't find time for anything which is other than what is necessary, what is to be inculcated. But the process in which education can take place, whether like you take the modern school, Lata Vaidyanathan, or when you take some of the principals, design school in Bangalore, or when you take some of them, or Rishi Valley, or when you take some of these kinds of schools, they do pay sufficient attention to it. But again, we need a new way of thinking. And as a matter of fact, somebody was saying this book which which I come out with, they were saying we want to take that and make it available for 6th through 8th grade. How to write it? I'm struggling with it, and I need probably a partner, some school teacher who can work with, who works with the 6th through 8th grade to take the same principles which I'm writing in that book, from smart to wise. We need to bring it back. But as you rightly say, children don't need to unlearn as much. As we go beyond 13, 14, 15, we have to do a lot more unlearning rather than just the learning. It's the question of, like I think in the United States they created something called Teach for America. We have one like that called Teach for India. We need to figure out how some of us begin to get more interested in that kind of education with younger children. Maybe that is how we shape it. But it cannot be done by legislation or by external command. But it has to come through passion. It has to come through some of us taking responsibility. Maybe there are ways in which while you are in soil or while you are outside, each of you can begin to mentor, let us say not even 3. If you can take 3, wonderful. If you are willing to take on one younger student, coach them, mentor them in the best, to be the best human being that they can be, based on what you have learned through your soil period. Let us say how many months you have left? 6 months. Okay. 6 months, how many of you are willing to make a commitment to one student to be mentored? Great. Now, how do we measure that you are going to follow through on it? You have raised the hands. What would be the best way you can actually take action outside of this particular session? And maybe some of you, like you raised it, maybe you can begin to look at, maybe a couple of you can come together, formulate a way, take the names, find out how you are doing it, and figure it out. And I would be happy to give my heart, and I would be happy to find a way I can mentor, coach, support in any way. If you are willing to stay in touch with me for the next 6 months on how this project is going, if there are any questions, if there are any, even my son is an elementary school teacher in Los Angeles. If there is anything I can help you to do that project with the children, I would be delighted to do that. So, but I'm going to, I want one of you to come and take the card and say, I'm willing to work with the rest of the students and see this project through for next 6 months. Whoever is willing to, please come and take the card from me. Alright, thank you very much. What is your name? And is there a way you can send it to me tonight, an email and your contact information, so that I have a way of being in touch with you as well. Thank you very much. So, first of all, this is the question and the hands and the person. What you just did is leadership. And of course, obviously, as we said, this will have responsibility, accountability, and certain results. How you produce it, how much commitment you put, whether you put 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week, maybe that's all that may be possible or that may be necessary. But imagine if so many hands I have seen, let us say about 40 hands, If you can shape 40 children's future to be different because of what you have done, you don't have to do anything else. You have already fulfilled significant part of the promise of leadership that you can demonstrate in your life. That is what I am saying is potential for what you can do versus many other places. I have not seen that many hands go up in any other place I have seen. Of course, you need to also recognize the energy will reduce. Some of you might not even give your names to him by end of the day, and or he may not follow through, so that means you may have to form a team. There were a few other hands which have come up. So at the end of this talk, if you can stay together for a few minutes, pick some more names, create a team, so each person will get some more things. You identify within the next 1 week, pick one child, how well you maintain, how well you create customer service, and how will you create the impression based on what you are able to do day after day after day, not seen by other people. That sells. Then rest of it is only a transaction. This is the one that will actually build. For an entrepreneur, out of all of these which I talked about, at least 3 of them have to be at a very high level. And they have to differentiate from other things in the market. If you can do 3 out of 6 in a super way, chances are you have a more than 50% chance for our entrepreneurial company to be successful, especially in India. But again, prioritization has to be done. By the way, I'm open to and whatever, and you guys need to help me in terms of timing, in terms of what it is, but I'll be happy
to
answer.
last few questions. I think Prasad should leave in the next 10 minutes or so because he has to make an appointment at 7:30 at Delhi, so he needs to leave in the next few minutes. So, questions?
By the way, is what I am saying, is that relevant? Is that something that resonating with you?
There is a question from there.
Actually, you work with Apple. So, you work with Apple. So, you can just tell us your experience about working with Steve Jobs and how it is, like, if he's not there.
And also, in fact, I must tell you, when I was with Prasad, I remember in 1990, there were, I think, 4 or 5 messages on his answering machine left by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was desperately trying to hire Prasad into his company that time, Next Computer. So he told me this guy is really after me, and I heard the voice messages a lot at that time. There were several messages left by Steve for you on the answering machine. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was 89, same time when we met. When I came back, I announced that I'm quitting Apple. So in a Christmas party, because it was November end, I had decided I'll quit Apple. December, Christmas parties were going on. My couple of colleagues had told Steve had started Next at that time. And I'll tell you about some of the stories as well, but because he opened it, I'll just complete the story. So I went on a vacation because my family had come for my sister's marriage at that time. My wife and son were here and I was there. And 23rd, I think, I left for Salt Lake City for vacation and I came back on 3rd. So there were 10 messages. Every single day, Steve Jobs calls and left a message and saying that I need you to call me and I want you to work for Next and I heard you are quitting and all of that. And it was amazing. So after I came back, after a 3rd, I went and met him and he was in a Palo Alto residence at that time and it was like a very interesting, lots of big space like this but very little furniture. There was a Tiffany's lamp. There was a mattress and there was a one fancy chair, Bang & Olufsen stereo system, all high quality design stuff, but naked and unique in there. So we sat down and talked. We didn't talk about much of. He didn't ask me what he wants me to do, and I didn't ask him. We didn't talk about salaries and everything else. We just shook hands saying, I'll come and work with him. Next thing is then he comes out and I had still the Apple car at that time because I was at a fellow level. So Apple had given me a nice car. It was a Mercedes. He said, oh, you're still using this. There's a brand new company that has come out and Lexus has just released 2 months ago. So he said, you should get one. I said, yeah, I'll think about it after this. He said, no, just come in. So we sat in his car around 8 o'clock. We go to a Lexus dealership not too far. He buys me a $70,000 car, Lexus LS 400. And he said, okay, bye. And that fellow was saying, no, I need to do the dealer prep. And I need to. He said, no, just give it. You can bring it back. So I go there, pick up the car, and then he says, drive it home. I said, look, I'll get it delivered, don't worry. So he called somebody to take the car and deliver it to him. So I just walk away from there. And you need to see the other part of it also. That was around 4th or 5th of January. I started working with him for about 1 week. They had before January 11th, 12th and 13th, or 12th, 13th, 14th, we had a company-wide meeting in Next, where it is and where they are going. It was very clear in 3-4 days that I have spent that Next by itself didn't have a future as a hardware company. Anil knows me very well, and I was polite, but I was straightforward to tell him that this has a lot of packaging, but there isn't any substance. And I am not sure whether I want to stay in it. Steve Jobs puts his hand out. And I thought he wanted me to shake hands, and I told him, he just hits my hand and says, keys. And I say, Steve, this is like 30 miles from Benson. I'll send you the car, I'll clean up the car, key to buy the product. And they had what is called a stores within stores concept in Fry's and Best Buy and all of them. But most of the salespeople were well trained in Windows, which is 90% of the market share in the personal computing. Most people didn't know the difference between Apple and PC, and then they were not doing a good job. So the sales were not going up. Market share of PCs, Macintoshes in the PC market were not going up. So Steve Jobs said, I want to create my own store so that people can come and experience products so that it will become successful. Of course, all these guys said, are you stupid or something? And right now, Macy's has gone under, and Sears has gone under. There are many retail stores are not making even $100 per square foot. Okay, why do you want to create it? Amazon is the flying one, high-flying one at that time. You have to create online stores, not an offline brick and mortar store. Of course, Steve being big-headed as he is and know it as it is, he said he refused. But because he is the board of directors, he agreed to institute a study. McKinsey, actually Janaki, another friend of mine, who was a person who became the project manager for it, and she did a $2 million study on various retail outlets. Basically came back to the same conclusion. The gap came up saying this is actually not a winning proposition, it's a losing proposition. He proposed, threw the report on her face and said, you don't know what you are talking about. And then he said, you guys are all thinking retail outlet means it is all about selling. I'm not interested in selling. I'm interested in creating a superior customer experience. See, that's again experience design. If I can make customers to experience the difference between a Macintosh and a PC, product will sell itself. But I need to create a pressure-free, bright, well-lighted, wonderful place where they can play with my technology. Everything will happen. So essentially, that's what he did. With Ron Johnson, who came from Target, he created the stores where people in the sales, they are not paid by commission, they are not told to sell, they get regular salary. Their job is to be enthusiastic and knowledgeable and help the customers freely without charging any money to help them have the best experience. You can go experience free Wi-Fi, you can stay as long as you want, you can play with as many tools as you want. Now, to make a long story short, as of this quarter, they have 425 stores. Each stores make 50 million plus revenue. Per square foot, Apple stores make $6,100 and and the nearest competitor for them in retail space is Tiffany jewelry stores in Manhattan, which makes $5,000. And most of the other stores like JCPenney, where Ron Johnson, after Steve Jobs died, went to head up as a CEO, makes $151 per square foot. And there are 300 patents in Steve Jobs' name. Several of them are about design of the Apple Store. Why I am saying is, there is something about ability to see things that most people don't see and do things most people can't conceive of doing. That is the demonstration of leadership. In that kind of an idea leadership and execution leadership with the help of Tim Cook, Steve Jobs is fantastic. He has done better than any CEO in the world in past 80 years, according to a study of Harvard Business Review, in 7 different industries. But as a human being, as a manager, he is probably a lousiest guy I have seen. Okay. And even his own children, he had difficulty with, and there are remarkable stories. I can tell you hundreds of stories on both ends of the spectrum about his wisdom and some of it. Instead of telling 3 stories, maybe I should stop with 1 story on that particular one, and we'll take other questions. There are so many wonderful things and there are so many interesting things. But we need to recognize he was a human being. He was probably as close to a product or innovation genius as I have seen. But at the same time, people became extraordinary in his presence despite him, not because of him.